welcome back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's webinar. Nice to see so many of you here. We'll just get started, and whoever joins us later, I'm sure they can catch up. It's a very interesting topic, but it's very simple, so I don't think we'll have trouble there. Okay, so today we'll be talking about our newest feature release in GIS Cloud. That's the 3D view. So it's an exciting one. It's been on our wish list for some time now. So it's great to be able to finally show you everything that we've been working on and everything that's coming soon. So my name is Barbara Telovets. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at GIS Cloud. And here with me is Bojan. He's our Customer Success Specialist. Hello, Bojan.
Hello, Barbara, and hello, everyone.
Okay, Bojan will be showing you the feature a bit later on in this webinar, but for a start, let's just get started and see what is on our agenda today. Okay, let's switch this over. Okay, so first things first, there's of course no new feature if there's no need for that new feature. So we'll talk a bit about why 3D is used in GIS in general, what you can do with it, and how it can help improve your workflow. Of course, that's why we made it. We'll then talk about a bit about what we actually added to our apps and what you can expect moving forward, but we'll keep this brief. We know that you all much prefer to see this in action, so do we. So that's why we'll include a live demo as well. That's where Bojan will step in and show you everything. Afterwards, we'll have a Q&A session where we'll answer any questions you guys might have about using 3D in GIS Cloud. Please note that the question box is open at any time, so feel free to send any questions during the webinar, during our presentation, during the live demo, and then afterwards we'll go over all of your questions and we will be answering them one by one. You have a Q&A section in the Zoom, whether you're using the application or through the browser. There's also the chat if you would prefer sending questions to that. But okay, before we get started, a little question for you. So we have a poll, very simple question. Have you used any kind of tool that allows you to view spatial data in 3D? So it doesn't have to be GIS Cloud, it can be anything. Okay, we're getting some answers here. We'll wait maybe a few more seconds for everyone to answer. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of yes answers to this one. If nothing else, I'm sure most of you have used Google Maps, Google Earth, something like that. If not, well, this is actually then a good chance to get started with your first tool that allows you to view this. And let me just share the results with you as well. I think you should be able to see it. So most of you said yes, of course, no surprise there. But for those of you who haven't, as I said, this is a great chance to try it out. You can just create an account in GIS Cloud if you haven't already, and you can use any of our web applications to try out the 3D. First of all, let's show you what it does and what you can actually do with it. Okay, let's go. So I'm guessing that, as I said, you know, a lot of yes answers to the first one. In reality, 3D is not something that we usually see in WebGIS platforms. Usually this is something that we kind of leave for the desktop applications, desktop tools, because I guess we think it's something a bit robust, something that requires a lot of computing power. But in reality, it doesn't have to just be used for like complex data analysis. It can definitely be used to provide a lot more information and context to your data in in comparison to, of course, a traditional 2D map. And there's no reason why this should be limited to the desktop. There's no reason why we shouldn't have this in a web platform as well. So if we take, things like, let's say, elevation, something very simple, very common example, you can, of course, use things like contour lines to provide this information on a 2D map. But not everyone is used to reading maps with contour lines. Not everyone will be able to understand which area is kind of higher, lower, steeper, or flatter, things like that. So it's pretty clear to see that with a 3D view, much more intuitive, much more user-friendly. And of course, it's not just about the kind of ground level. 3D view is really most powerful when you actually combine it with other data that you're working with. Think about times when you're maybe sending your crew out to the field, whether it's for them to collect new data, do inspections, like fulfill work orders, whatever. Of course, it would be good for them to know what kind of terrain they can expect. Are they just going to have like a leisurely walk on flat ground, or will they actually be hiking to reach that substation or a pole that they need to inspect? So if we take the kind of elevation and slope example again, it's a very important factor also if you're maybe building up in your residential area, you're planning some new infrastructure network. These are all things that at the end of the day impact your costs. So it's information that you really should have on your map. And it's much more clear and much more understandable if you have this in a 3D view as opposed to just a classic 2D map. Of course, this is something you can apply to a number of different industries, number of different use cases. It's something that Bojan will be showing you a bit later on. And this can be really anything from like agriculture, if you want to plan which crops will be better suited for which areas, depending on the slope, the aspect, things like that. Or if you're working in energy, let's see. Oh, I see you guys have a question about the full screen. I hope, glad I sorted out. But yeah, as I was saying, so energy, if you want to see if there are, let's say, any natural obstacles in the way of your power lines, it can be used for vegetation maintenance, disaster management, route planning. Essentially, it's just a very intuitive way to communicate what's actually going on in the field to users who are not, and they don't really need to be, GIS experts or really heavy GIS users. So anyone can understand a very simple 3D map, and it's much more user-friendly. So it helps you communicate your ideas. It's much more realistic so that you better understand what's going on. And at the end, it helps you make better decisions, of course. So with all that in mind, what did we do in giscloud? Well, of course, traditionally giscloud always in 2D. You were able to use our base maps, add your own data, collect data, all things like that. Now we added the switch to 3D option. It's essentially a button that you can see on the right. And this will allow you to switch the visualization so that you're not just looking at the data and the base map on a flat surface. You'll be able to kind of turn things around. You can change the tilt, see the data from all sides, and really inspect everything that's going on in that area. You can use this with any base map that's available in giscloud, but the best part is, of course, all of your data stays on the map. So any vector or raster layer that you've already set up, or you just want to set it up from scratch, it will simply be overlaid, and you can still work with this data. You can still collect new things. You can still edit the data. You can still get the information about those features. You can still draw on the map. So that's all things you can still do. Anything that you pretty much anything that you've done until now in 2D, this is just kind of translated into the 3D view as well. So that means that you're really maintaining the whole collaboration aspect that you've had before with just simple 2D maps in giscloud. You have that connection between the field and the office. You can dynamically add your data and use it to improve your workflow. So very exciting, very simple, but of course, something that you can implement in so many ways and for so many different use cases. And we're not even done yet. So there are some additional things that will be added to this 3D view, which will maybe tell you a bit more later. But for now, let's go ahead and let's actually show you the 3D view in action. So Juan, if you would like to kind of take over and get started.
Well, thank you for the wonderful introduction, Barbara. So let's get down to business and see giscloud's 3D in action. Let me see. Okay, I got my mouse. As you can see, this is the standard 2D view in giscloud and the 2D view that a lot of you are accustomed to in your GIS apps. So we have chosen a beautiful mountainous Switzerland to show off our 3D. And you simply switch to 3D by a click of a button. So here you can zoom in and view this base map in a new perspective. You can simply switch around by using the compass. Or if you prefer, you can simply click on the right mouse button and tilt the map, pan around, and take in the gorgeous view. When we first tried this out, it was breathtaking. We are really proud of this feature.
Yeah, spend some hours just walking around.
So before you even get started working with your own data, you will probably spend a few hours exploring. Next thing I would like to show you is adding vector layers to the map. I have previously added some vector layers. I've added the Korean land cover database. That is a public database of land use. For instance, here we have the continuous urban fabric, discontinuous fabric, some forest areas, lakes, water, and such. And it really does put things in perspective. Like, certainly some of you from Europe are used to this, seeing this database, but you were always looking at it from a 2D perspective. Now this really, oh, excuse me. That happens when you do things live. That happens when you do things live. And it is truly something to behold. So we have decided to show all the data here in Switzerland around Lugano. And I've also prepared a second map. So this one's got a little bit more data. So this is again the same area. And here I would like to talk about more what kind of vector layers and what can you visualize on the map. So for instance, here we have downloaded some buildings from OpenStreetMap as well as roads. I've classified them into several categories. There is also water, and I will also talk about adding rasters to the 3D. I have a digital elevation model, and in QGIS, I performed a slope analysis, and we will get to that in a moment. So now, once again, I zoom in on the map, and I switch to 3D. So now you have a basic idea how it looks like when you have buildings and roads. Maybe some of you will use different type of polygon data, for example, power lines or water infrastructure and such. But here you have a basic understanding of how it looks in action. Next, what I would like to show you is the digital elevation model. For instance, let's go to this area here. So this is how currently the digital elevation model looks like in giscloud in 3D. I will also say that we have something regarding digital elevation models coming very soon, so stay tuned. You will no longer have to just simply overlay an image over the existing 3D model. That's all I'll say for now. And yeah, what do you say we check out the slope analysis I performed earlier?
Yes, that sounds good. I mean, I think what's really important to emphasize here is that you can really see how all of your vector data just kind of fits with the base model that we have here that's available when you kind of switch to this 3D view. It just kind of merges with the model, and you can really see the vector data as it really is in the world outside, not just kind of a flat image. This really better puts into context like all of the roads. You can see how they're kind of going with the contours of the elevation and the terrain. And I think really that's a very important tool to know, because of course, you know, if for a number of different industries, you really need that information, you know, where things are. It's very different to see this piece of town or a village up in the mountain versus something that's on a kind of a flat ground, because of course anything that you do in this kind of area, you know, at the end of the day, for the baseline is, you know, it will impact the cost of what you do. So it's a very important information to know. So you don't necessarily have to work with digital elevation models or with slopes or any kind of information like that, but just getting the base map shown in 3D is already a very big additional context and a lot of information that you can use.
So I've also, like I mentioned previously, I've performed a slope analysis in QGIS, and I uploaded this raster to giscloud. Okay, there it is. I'm just going to turn off the digital elevation model so we can see things better. And this just shows that you can upload your other rasters to giscloud, and it will work in 3D. You will be able to see things from a whole new perspective. For instance, this slope analysis, and it's very beneficial. It's a part of the planning process. For instance, spatial planning, agriculture, decision-making for construction or road. For instance, we can see here, this area is relatively well built up. It's on flat terrain, but all around it is mountainous and very steep terrain, for example. Now this gives you a new perspective to that, because previously we were all used to seeing this in 2D. So definitely gives you more insight on how things really are, especially if you're working on a project from one place. Say your editors and viewers are in one country, but you're working with data from halfway across the world. This gives you a brilliant perspective into that.
Yeah, you might know what's going around your neighborhood, but if you haven't been to Switzerland, well, now you can see how it looks like in 3D as well.
Now, this was just a very quick and very simple overview of what 3D looks like in giscloud, but I do believe Barbara has prepared one more map to show you.
Yeah, so I do also have one more map to show you guys. It's just a map where you can see a very, let's say, basic inspection map we have here with traffic signals maintenance. So this is something that we would normally have if you're working for a city. You need to maintain the traffic signals, the signs, and all of that. You might see something like this, but if we switch over, we would see it like this in 3D. And what's great is that you can then also, of course, since all of your data, the vector data is still here, you can still interact with it. So you can see all of the information that's connected to it, whether that's the traffic signals, the roads that we have, all of that. And you can still, as you can see, make all of the changes and edits that you were previously able to do as well. So this just gives you more insight into where things are. You can see, and this is actually Zagreb, so everything here, all of the traffic signals are kind of here in the flat part of the lower town. So there aren't many traffic signals here in the hilly parts, let's say like that, and you can still see the beautiful Sljeme behind. Okay, a bit overconfident with the zoom over here. Let's go back. Okay, So very simple to use, but of course, this is not just useful just to kind of see pretty pictures and look at the world in 3D. This is all information that's definitely very important to your stakeholders, to maybe your managers, to everyone who needed this information before. Now they have more context and they can maybe better understand why something is in this area and not this one, or you can just provide them with a lot more information than you could before. As we mentioned, so this is available in all of our web apps, so you can go ahead and try it out if you haven't already. Very simple, and you can also use kind of these tools over here to switch around the map. You can see everything from all angles. So one thing that was kind of, let's say, locked before, you always viewed our 2D maps in where north was up, and with this switch to 3D, you can kind of move it around. Pretty cool. Okay, so very simple feature to view, but very difficult and complicated to make. So we definitely hope that you like it and that you will use it. If you would like to get in touch and maybe discuss how best to implement this into your own workflow, you're not sure how you can do that, you can always let us know and we can help you out. But in the meantime, I think it's time for our Q&A session. And before that, we also have maybe one more poll as well. Let me turn it on. Let's see where it is. Okay, I can stop sharing this one. And let's set our second poll. So did you already have a chance to try out the 3D view in giscloud? If you haven't, I think after this webinar is the perfect time to do it, in my humble opinion. And if you have, it would be great to hear your thoughts as well. So maybe leave us a comment in the chat as well. And as I mentioned before, so our Q&A is always open. So feel free to send any questions over there because we will be answering them right after we finish this poll here. Okay. I think we had plenty of time and you can probably see the poll. Let's just move it over here. Okay, live demo is done. Let's go ahead and switch over to our Q&A session. So let's see what questions we already have. And of course, as I mentioned, you can go ahead and send additional questions. Okay, so we had some questions about the full screen. So let's just say that we answered that one. That's done. Okay. Fantastic development for geology-oriented users of giscloud. Thank you. Can you tell us what elevation data set you're using? So the model that we use is the Mapbox model. So we've used their model for a start that gives you kind of the whole world view. What we have coming up in the following weeks, months, is also the ability for you to add your own model. So you will be able to add your own digital elevation model, and you can then use that as a sort of a base, right? So you don't have to use this one. If you have something that's maybe a bit more accurate, a bit more precise, you'll be able to use that as well. Okay. Will giscloud have the ability to set up 3D data for buildings that have multiple floors? So it's not something that's currently supported. Definitely something on our wish list. If you're interested in maybe exploring that a bit more, and seeing if that's something we can maybe push on our to-do list, you can let us know. Maybe we can reach out to you afterwards. But for now, not something that we have. It is on our wish list, but no kind of due date, not due date, but no set timeline for now.
It would be a very exciting thing to see.
Yeah. Could you use this on a large signature bridge? Not sure what you're referring to that. So if you could maybe clarify your question a bit, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
I think this is relating to the 3D models again.
So you fly and get data with drone, make a model of the bridge, the 3D model. You'll be able to add the digital elevation model afterwards. So it's not a point cloud yet, but it is definitely a good, let's say, feature request, good option. So definitely we'll keep that in mind for future developments and for updates to the 3D tool. Can you change the aspect ratio in 3D view? No, not currently. I'm not sure if that's something that will be added to the custom DEM, but we'll see. Okay, is it possible to use 3D in your other apps, not just map editor? Yes, it is. So the 3D view can be used in map editor, map viewer, map portal, mobile data collection portal, map contributor, your custom applications. So essentially all of your web applications, all of the web applications that we have, you can use 3D in those. Okay. Exists manhole 3D. So I'm not sure what I'm guessing the question is whether there are existing manholes added to the 3D model. So no, it's just a elevation model essentially. You can add your own vector data to the model so that you can actually see where the locations for the manholes are, and then you can have that information as an additional vector layer in giscloud. Okay. Will you allow use of vertical exaggeration factor in the future to enhance the appearance of elevation differences in areas of low relief? So not something that's currently added to the feature, but a good option. Good suggestion.
It's a very good suggestion.
Can we use it for fires? Yes, of course, you can use it for anything you like. So if you have maybe raster data where you have information about which areas are maybe under threat of fire or are currently
affected by a fire, for instance.
Yeah, you can definitely overlay it.
Yeah, for instance, you can also use it to plan, for instance, the fireman response. If the fires are in a very mountainous and sloped terrain, how hard is it to reach the area, for instance?
Definitely, that's something that I'm sure that you would need in order to plan the emergency services. So definitely you can add that data as well. How to get the 3D map? So open any of our applications and you can just click the button on the end over here. Let me show you. So switching to 2D, and you can see here on the right, switch to 3D, and it does this. Pretty simple. So just a click of a button and you're all set. Okay, let's go back to our Q&A. Let's see if we have any more questions. Can you be more specific on the timing for availability to use your own digital elevation model? We don't have a specific timing. It is coming soon, so definitely stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on social media like LinkedIn. We will definitely be also pulling out a blog when closer to the release date. We'll make sure to maybe prepare another webinar to show you how to use your own digital elevation model as well. So definitely there will be a lot more to see. Okay, I think those are all the questions we have for now. If you have any other questions later on, feel free to get in touch with us either at the email listed above, or you can also always send us a message just through our chat. We would love to hear from you what you think about the 3D. Did you find it useful? What would you like to use it for? Or if you're not sure what to use it for, let us know and we'll show you how to use it as well. Okay, thank you everyone again for joining today's webinar. It's a short one, but I hope you can maybe go after this webinar and try out the features in giscloud. Looking forward to the next one. Hope to see you again over there. And yeah, thank you, Bojan, for joining. And any final questions, any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? It's certainly an experience working on the 3D and showing it to you guys. It's, like I said earlier, we are very proud of it and we can't get enough of it for now. And we can't wait to show you what else is in store down the line.
Well said. Okay, thank you again, guys. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.